Hello, my fellow gnomes, and welcome to episode number 18 of our Tower Defense series. We're getting close to finishing here, and I thought today we'd do a little bit of cleaning up to start with. So we hit stop, and of course we're going to need our output open to do some scripting, and we'll head into our main script. Now at the moment it's a little bit messy with all of this different wave logic. Now, I don't think we really want to have all of this in the main script, because if you're going into the main script, you really just want a general overview of all the different functions. You're probably not bothered about the exact order of operations on wave 5 or 6, for example. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in a new module script inside of main, just like we've got mob and tower. And what shall we call this one? Well, I think we'll call this something like round. I could call it game, but obviously that's a bit confusing. We've already got a game.workspace and so on. So we'll call it round. And here we'll put all sort of general logic to do with our game. So we'll just name that and that. And then inside of here, we're going to create a new function. And we will call this round.getWave. Okay. And that's going to take two parameters. The first of which is going to be the wave number. So we call that wave num, or maybe just wave, that's fine. And then the map that we are spawning in. And inside of this function, all we're going to do is we're going to take all of this code that was choosing the wave. We're going to take all of that, select it all, and Control X. Goodbye. And we're going to pop it into here. So Control V, and there we go. So we've got all of our logic here. We'll notice we've got a few red underlines because it doesn't know what the mob is anymore. So we're going to need to make sure to reference that at the top, that module script. Local mob equals require. And then where is the mob local script? Well, we need to go to the parent of the round one. So parent, and then find the mob. So that's script dot parent dot mob. There we go. So now it knows what we're talking about. And that's pretty much all we need to do there to get that set up. It's now just a matter of calling this from our main function. So make sure we reference it at the top here. Local round equals require. And we can just say script.round because it's a child of the main script. And then over here on line 29, where we had that code before, we can simply say round.getWave, and then we'll type wave. So to give it the number of whatever current iteration we're on, and then the map. So that's much cleaner. We've just taken up one line, whereas I think we had about 20 lines or so before. So that's a little bit neat. We can see what's happening, and we'll just click play and check we've not broken anything. Let's see, game starting. And here are zombies all spawning in. Everything seems to be working. Super. Now, a lot of people have been asking how they can add a bonus at the end of the round. Because at the moment, if you kill all the zombies, right, there's a short wait, and then you immediately get to the next round. And in a lot of games, you get a little bonus each time. Now, that's pretty easy to do. So all we need to do is we're going to need to get the players first of all. So right at the top of the script, we can get create a new variable for the players. So local players equals game get service, and we get that players service. I notice we've still got all this code to do with bindables and the game over. Although I don't think we're actually using that anymore, because we switched just to using this variable, didn't we? So we can go ahead actually and delete these, and delete them from the server storage as well. So that's a little bit more spring cleaning. And then once we've got the players service, what we can do is actually loop through all of those players. So once we've done the wave, and after we've checked that we've gone through every mob is dead, then we're going to want to check. So we'll say for I player in I pairs, and that will just be the players service, that variable we just created, and then we'll get the players. And then so we're just looping through each and every player. And all we're going to want to do is give them a little bit of bonus cash. So player dot gold, I think is what I named my currency. If you can't remember, just head into your onPlayer adder script and check. And here it is. Gold.name we set to be gold with an uppercase G. So that's what I need to type. Player.gold.value, and then I'll just say plus equals. And you could give them however many you like. You could just give them a flat 100 gold each time. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them 50 and then multiply that by whatever the current wave is. So the first wave, they'll get just 50 gold, then 100, 150, 200, and so on. So that's going to set all of their bonus gold at the end of each round. Maybe we'd like to give a little message as well, just to let them know. So after we've done that, we can say info.message.value, and we'll just set this to be round completion bonus, something like that. And then we'll just copy that line. In fact, let's create a variable, local reward. I'll make that equal to that, and then we'll set that to that, and this to this as well. So dot dot and reward. There we go. We do want to have a little gap as well, so maybe we'll make that appear for 2 seconds before we then reset it back to what it was before. In fact, we probably don't want to have the game over message right here, because this is only going to check if it's game over once we've looped through all the players. We would probably be better off putting this line, Control X, and put it up here when we're checking the health of the base. So let's paste that in there. And then we'll only do these lines here if it's not game over. If not game over, then we'll go about giving them a reward and so on. Otherwise, we will just wait. There we go. So I think that looks a little bit cleaner, right? We've got everything just contained within 50 lines. That's good. Let's go ahead, click play, check it's still working for us. Right, new round is starting. We've got our 3 zombies spawned in. And we'll add in our slinger over here. And he gets all the kills. And then we get round completion bonus 50. And then it only appears for a few seconds, then it starts the next wave. Super. And out they come again. And we'll upgrade this guy. And then when he kills all of these, we should get a bonus of 100. There we go. 100. In fact, that's a little bit wordy, isn't it? Let's just change that into wave reward. And we'll add a little $sign as well. There we go. So that's a little bit of reorganization, and we've got that little round bonus set up. But what we probably could do with having now is an actual end state to the game. Because if our player successfully kills all of the mobs, or they get defeated, if the base's health is destroyed, nothing is really going to happen, is it? So I think what we need to create is a kind of end screen. So we're going to need to go into our screen GUI now and set about adding that. So instead of adding in a frame like we've done so far for all of these, we're actually going to add in an image label. Now, an image label is pretty much the same as a frame, but it means we can add a background image. So we're just going to name this End Screen, and we'll make sure its size is set to 1010, so it completely fills the screen. And we'll set the background transparency to be 0.2, so we can kind of see through it. And then make sure that the background color, we'll set that to black, I think, as well. And then for this actual image, we don't want the placeholder. So let's just remove that image, right? And now we've got a sort of darkish screen because we want it to be kind of faded out. So you could search for like a border maybe that you could add in, or maybe you'd want like a oh, that's not right, a vignette effect. So you would sort of have just the corners darkened, right? One of these would maybe work for us. I've already found one, so I'll just paste that into the image. And there we go. We've got this sort of white circled border. I'm going to set the image color 3 to be black, right? So I think that just looks a little bit nicer. So the corners are all nice and black. And you're then not too focused on the main game GUI. Now in here, we're going to need to add in some text, of course. So I'll add in, well, we're probably going to add in two frames in here. So the first frame is going to sort of contain like a title frame. So we'll name this frame title, or maybe we'll name this content, something like that. And then we're going to need to position this in the center. So we want it 0.25 of the way across the screen. And then we want it to be not 0, 100, 0, 100, but half of the width. So 0.5, 0, and then maybe 0.3 of the height and 0 extra pixels. So something like that. And maybe we'll position it down a little bit on the y-axis. So 0.1 down. There we go. I think that works. And then inside of here, we're just going to add in like a title text and a subtitle text. So we'll add in a text label. This first one is going to be our title, so we'll name it as such. And this size will be 10.80. So it nicely fills it like so. Background transparency, set that to 1. And for our text font, what font do we think would look good here? This is going to say game over, or maybe victory. So I think we want a bit more of a stylistic font than just Oswald that we've been using so far. That looks a little bit plain, a little bit boring. We might use the antique font. I think that looks pretty cool. And if we set that to be bright red, like so, and maybe set the text stroke transparency to 0. There we go. It sort of gives it a bit more contrast. It starts to pop. That's pretty good. And then below this, we'll add in a subtitle. So we can just duplicate this title we just created. Duplicate that, Control D. We'll rename this subtitle. And I'm missing a T there. And I put a hash by accident. There we go, we've got our subtitle. And we're just going to set this to be positioned 0.8 of the way down. So it's underneath that title. And for its size, we just want it to be 0.2 high. There we go. And then for this text, we can probably just have this as Oswald. Okay, so it just matches the rest of our UI. And this will say something like, "You failed. Haha, noob." Right, and then we'll just set this to be white, I think. And we don't need any text transparency, so we can set that to 1. That has made the text invisible, but if we go to our content frame and make sure this has background transparency, there we go, we can read it all now. I think that looks a little bit better. And then we're probably going to want some kind of like stats frame as well, to sort of say how many kills they got, how much money they earned, and so on. So we're going to duplicate this content frame, Control D, and we'll name this one stats. And then we'll position this, instead of being 0.1 of the way down, 0.4 of the way down. So it's directly below that one. And then inside of here, we will create a text label for, I'm not sure what we're going to use yet. Maybe we won't set all of these up. But obviously we're going to need to have one to say how many kills they got and how much gold they earned and so on. we'll probably keep this all in Oswald font. And maybe we'll have a different color for each one. So the kills one could be orange. Sure, why not? And then we don't need it to be quite so big, do we? So let's set the size just to be 0.3. I think that works. And make sure we name it to kills. And instead of positioning these all manually, maybe we'll just add in a UI list layout just to help us out a little bit, because we might want to add or move different ones later. So fill direction vertical, horizontal alignment center, layout order. Yep, that's all fine. So then we've got kills. We can duplicate this, add another one. Maybe we'll call this gold. So we want to change the text to say gold as well. And the color, we need to have that to be a sort of a brighter yellow, like so. And then maybe we'd have another one that tells you what wave they got to or something like that. Right, and maybe we'll set this to be a greenish color. Okay, well maybe we'll change this in a minute, but I think this will work for now. Make sure we set the name as well to be wave. There we go. And then finally, that's our stats menu. We're going to want to have some kind of button just to exit out of here. So we'll add in a text button, and we're going to want to place this to be, how about 0.3 of the way across, and we need it to be 0.7 of the way down. And then we're going to want it to cover 0.4 of the width, and for its height, that will be just 0.2. There we go, we get a nice big button at the bottom. And we'll name this exit. And we'll make sure it has, I think, a nice black background would look good. And then border, we will give it a little border. Set that to inset and set to white. Maybe set that to 5. Something like that. And then for our font, make sure that's still Oswald, because that's what we've been using. Scale the text, and we'll set the text to exit. Oh, and the text color to be white. There we go. So that's a pretty basic end screen setup for us. I think that'll do the job. Game over. You failed. Haha, noob. And then tell them how well they did. So let's set this visibility. We'll set this to false. Visible false. Untick that. And then we're going to need to control this from inside of our game controller local script now. So inside we go. And I think if we find our setup GUI function, which is right down at the bottom here somewhere, here it is. So we're already checking sort of what state the info message is over here, look. So we're seeing if the message is blank, then we set it to invisible. Otherwise, we display the message. So let's do another check inside of here. If the change or the new message, if it equals victory, or the change equals game over, then we're going to want to display that end screen. So just for now, we'll say GUI.endScreen.visible equals true. And we'll just check that's working for us. Now, actually, we've never actually set up a visible state yet. So we're going to want to do that inside of our main. So once all of this logic has completed, we can just check at the very bottom if the game never officially ended, never reached that game over state, they never failed, then we will set the info.message.value equal to, and that'll just be victory. Oh, I put 2 equals. There we go. So let's just give this a test, and instead of waiting through all the rounds and playing the game fully, we're going to start the wave at wave 10, and then in our little round thing, let's just comment all of this out. And so we just spawn a single teddy for the final wave. So let's hit play. And, oh, it says wave, there we go, wave 10. And we've got our single teddy. So we can defeat this guy. And hopefully we should get that victory state. Probably going to take a little bit of damage. We might need a wizard to help us out too. There we go. And, oh, it says wave reward. And it's trying to start our next wave. There we go. We've got our game over message. We're probably going to want to get rid of that GUI inset as well. We've got a little border there. So that's easy enough to fix. It's just a property of the GUI. Right, ignore GUI inset. If you take that, then it goes away. So let's hit stop and make sure we set this while we're in our edit state. There we go. Set that again. And then we're going to need to fix our logic a little bit as well. So if not game over and wave, let's change it here. So in wave equals 10, then we will set the message to victory. And then we'll have an alternative condition, else if it's just not game over, but it's some other wave other than 10. Then we'll do this. Otherwise, we will break. So that should fix our logic and fix up the GUI a little. We'll click play one more time. There we go. It's pushed up right to the top there. That might be a little bit annoying, but at least it'll fix our issues. Add in the slinger one more time. Make sure he gets that kill. There we go. And there we got our game over screen. Although we don't want it to say game over because we have won. We want it to say victory or something like that anyway. So what we're going to need to do is we'll hit stop and we'll flesh out that code a little bit more. So head into our game controller script and instead of just setting it all in here, which might get a little bit messy, let's create a new function for ourselves. So just above here, we'll create a new local function and we'll call this display end screen, I suppose. Display end screen. And maybe that takes the status as a parameter. And then we can check if the status equals game over, then we're going to want to do one set of things, right? We're going to want it to say game over. And then alternatively, else, if the status equals victory, then we're going to want to do another set of things. So how about we have some sounds that play first of all? That could be pretty cool. So again, you can do a search for some audio, but just make sure you get some audio that is either Roblox or is underneath the time limit. And then we will just add these in. So I've already got 2 pieces of audio, so I'm just going to copy them and place them inside of my End Screen GUI here. So I'm going to paste them in, and there we go. I've got a failure and a victory sound. We can listen to the failure one. A little bit slapstick maybe, and then we've got our victory one. Oh yes, beautiful stuff. Congratulations. So that one's a little bit more authentic perhaps. But now we've got them 2 audios, we could set them to play. So if it's a game over, then GUI.endScreen.failure:play. And if it's a victory, let's add in a little space so we can see what we're doing. If it's a victory, then GUI.endScreen.victorySound:play. And then we're going to need to set the text. We don't want it to say game over every time. So GUI.endScreen. In fact, rather than me typing all that out, let's create a variable for local screen equals GUI.endScreen. It's kind of shorthand then. Looks a little bit cleaner, I think. So screen.content.title.text Well, actually, the text is going to be set all the time. We want the text color 3 to change. So the text color 3 will be a color3.new, and this will be red, won't it? So we'll set this to a nice bright red if it's a failure. But if it's a victory, then we're going to want that to be a nice bright green. So that'll be 0, 1, 0, like so. And then we're going to need to change maybe the color of that silhouette effect. So if I set this to visible, so I can see what I'm doing, I would maybe like the image color, instead of being completely black, maybe a sort of green, a greenish hue, like so, something like that perhaps, maybe a little bit brighter. So let's copy that color, and then we'll Control Z and make sure that's set to invisible again. There we go. And so we will say screen dot image color 3, and we'll set that equal to color3.new and something like 0.6, 1, 0.5, 0.4. There we go. That'll do. And then alternatively, it's just going to be set to completely black. So screen, not script, screen. And we could just copy this line. There we go. And this time set that to be completely 0. 0, 0, 0 is a black color. And then we want to set the subtitle text. So the screen.subtitle. Oh no, screen.content.subtitle.text. And maybe we'll set this equal to better luck next time. We'll be a little bit more friendly than the you failed, noob. Ha 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 ha. Better luck next time. Give them some hope, perhaps. And alternatively, if they have won, then we'll give them a heartfelt message. Congratulations, or the empire, or the garden. The garden lives to grow another day. Does that make sense? Should it be fight? Lives to grow another day. We'll keep it as that. So there we go. That's our messages set up. And then once we've done that, we can just generically set GUI.endScreen. Now I can use my variable screen.content.title.text, and this will always be set to whatever the status is. That's why we didn't need to set it inside of these if conditions, because it's always going to be the status. And then we're going to want to set up all of those stats. So screen.stats.wave.text equals wave colon space dot dot, and that would just be we can find out the wave, can't we? Because that's inside the info value that we created, if we remember. Inside of the info folder, we've already got the wave there, so we can just say workspace.info.wave.value. That's whatever wave they survived until. And then we're going to want to get however much gold they accrued. So screen.stats.gold.text, and this will be a similar thing. Gold colon space dot dot, and this time we need to get it from the player. Remember, in the onPlayer added, we created this gold value, so that will be, I think we've got a variable for the player's service. That's right. So you can say players.localplayer.gold.value. And then for kills, we haven't actually got anything set up for that just yet. So we're probably going to need to add in a new value. So we could say local kills equals instance.new int value. Kills.name equals kills. And then we don't need to set a value because it's just going to be the default of 0. But make sure that we parent that to the player. And so now we can access the value of that. So screen.stats.kills.text equals kills colon space dot dot. And let's just copy that. It's a little bit quicker, isn't it? And whatever the value of the kills is. And then finally, once we've done that, we can say the screen dot visible equals true. There we go. Display end screen. We need to call it. So in our SERP GUI function down here, instead of just saying it to visible, make sure we call it and we'll send the change as the parameter. There we go. Let's try that one more time. Okay, here comes Teddy. We'll do this with 2 slingers this time. Should make it a bit quicker. And here we go. Destroying him. And there we go. We've got our nice screen. It's all lit up in green. We've got our victory sound going on. The garden lives to grow another day. So it told us how many gold we earned, what wave we reached, and the kills, which is currently 0 because we haven't actually set that up. Let's go about setting that kill counter up real quick. So if I hit stop, and I'm probably going to want to do this inside of the mob module script. And sorry, not the mob module script, the tower module script. So if we find the attack function, here it is, line 66 for me. And down here, where we awarded the gold, because remember we only award gold when they actually get a kill in this game at the moment, which is maybe a little bit harsh. But here where we set the player.gold.value, we can also set the player.kills.value, and that will just be plus equals 1. So that's our kills set up. Hopefully now when we click play, we should see that 1 kill accrued on the board. Let's see, we'll add this guy in. Beef him up a bit with some upgrades. Bring along the wizard to help too. And come on, there we go. So we've got our 1 humble kill on the board. Cool. It does look a little bit plain, I think, how the frame just suddenly appears. So it might be nice to add some kind of tween effect so it sort of slowly becomes bigger. So in our display end screen function, after we set it to visible, well, what we might do is we can set the screen dot size, and we're going to make it really small. So we'll say udim2 dot new, and we'll set this to 0000. So it's got a size of nil essentially. And then we're going to tween that size to make it bigger. So the tween style, we'll create a tween info.new. And so how long do we want it to last? Maybe 0.5 of a second. The enum.easing style we'll set to back. The enum.easing direction, we will set that to be, let's try out. And then we want a repeat count. We'll set that to 0. We want it to happen once. We don't want it to reverse. And we don't want a delay either. So we set that to 0 as well. So that's all the properties for our tween. Now we'll actually go and create it. So local zoom tween equals tween service. Have we got a variable for it? We haven't got a variable for tween service. So let's go to the top of our script and create one. Local tween service equals game get service tween service. There we go. Copy that. Head back to line 299, line 300. And now we can use it. Tween service, create. And the object we want to tween, which is the screen, the end screen. And then we give it the tween style that we've just created. And then we need to say what we actually want to tween, what property. So we use these curly brackets here. And we say size equals, and we now want it to be full screen. So udim2.new 1010, like so. And then all we need to do is tell that zoom tween :play. Fantastic. And if we're going to be changing the size, we probably want to set the anchor point as well. So if we go to our end screen and make sure we set the anchor point here, we'll set that to be 0.5 and 0.5 in both directions. And the position, we need it to be centered at all times. So 0.5 and 0.5. There we go. It's going to be centered. So hopefully now, when we click play, we should see it fly towards us. Let's see. We'll add in our slingers. Maybe we'll add in a brute as well. There we go. And there we go. It flies towards us. Cool. Nice one. And let's check that the end screen is working as well. So let's set the base humanoid's health. It's 500 currently. Let's just set it to 5 so we can check it's working. And we'll have to wait now for our teddy to reach the end, which is going to take ages. I could probably modify his walk speed to move a little bit quicker. Where is it? Walk speed, it's currently 6. Let's set it to 20. There we go, that'll speed him up a bit. 25. And now, when he reaches the end, here he is, speeding along. And game over. There we go. Cool. So that about does us for this episode, I think. Eventually, we're going to need to set up the exit button to actually do something. But we won't get too bogged down with that just yet. I think we've spent long enough on this as it is. But we'll hit stop. And let's make sure that we reset the wave back to start at wave 1, and we're just going to reset our round logic here for wave 10. Let's reset that quickly as well. There we go. So thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you found this episode helpful, and hopefully your tower defense game is coming together as well as this one here. But until next time, well, I'll see you next time. Goodbye!